Harlow. there. That was it. We got it. Finally. Yeah, I know I've got audio on HF, but just didn't have audio running on the YouTube. But now we do have on the YouTube. Oh, dear. Anyway, so good evening, everybody. Trust that everybody is well on this wet Friday evening. And as I just said, we've got a fairly torrential downpour happening outside at the moment. It's now clocked 25.6. I said 22 mils a moment ago, but it's just clocked 25.6. No, sorry, I was looking at the wrong dial. It's still 22 millimeters. I thought that was a lot in just a few minutes. 22 millimeters. It's fallen here in Narre South, and the rate is currently 16 millimeters per hour at the current rate of rainfall. Anyway, enough of that. Good evening, everybody. We're up on YouTube tonight. There's no ATV repeater, VK3RTV. The digital TV repeater is currently off air due to maintenance, so we're not broadcasting any TV pictures via Melbourne TV repeater, but we do have the YouTube channel running in full HD. So if you if you want to watch any vision tonight, and there's lots of images I'm going to be throwing at you, the YouTube channel is the one to look up. So if you go to YouTube on the internet and just type in VK3CSJ, that'll get you to my YouTube channel, and then look for the image it's got live now on it, and that's it. That'll be me. So VK3CSJ on the YouTube channel should work fine. All right, we have also a chat window. So if anybody wishes to come up on the Discord chat window, you can find that via the ASV website at www.asv.org.au, and go across to where it has you see the radio astronomy tab. Click on the radio astronomy tab, and that opens up a little box, and down the bottom there you'll see the link to the ASV radio, and follow that and you'll see the video stream there, as well as the little link to Discord, which is a little radio telescope, picture of a radio telescope for Discord. And as I speak, I see that we have Rob, VK3XRA, we have Serge, who's a newbie. It's very rare to have Serge, VK3XRA, up on the chat window, but there he is. So welcome to the broadcast and to the chat window, dear Serge. It's been ages since we've heard you on the or in this case seen you on Discord. Well, it's the first time really. Who else is there? Kim, VK5FUSE is up there on chat. So g'day Kim, and it's raining over there too. He's also complaining. And that's all I see at the moment on the screen. There's lots of comms. There should be audio there, as far as I know, on the YouTube channel. All right, tonight, if I can get through these articles pretty quickly, and I won't go super fast, but I'll fill up the hour pretty quick, I know. But tonight we've got something about the future of Earth's defence in ground-based planetary radar from the Green Bank Observatory. We've got something about Starlink satellites, the streaks across the sky, and are they really a big problem after all? Then we've got something on life on Mars will be dangerous, cramped and difficult, according to Elon Musk, who has only been there in his mind. We're looking back on Apollo 16. Now, we're already a couple of weeks overdue on this article, but I've been putting it off. So this week I hope to recapture Apollo 16 when they launched to the moon in 20th of April. And we've also got something on an astronomer who's won a medal. He's up there at Broken Hill, and he's won the National Award for his contribution to planetary science. And I'll try and read that article out to find out what that's all about. There's also a few images of him as well. Then if I have time, I'll discuss a little bit about how to culminate your telescope. It's a bit of a topic at the moment because we're looking at culminating our radio telescope up at Heathcote, the 8.5 metre, and there's going to be an attempt at doing that. But this is more to do with the optical side of it. So if I've got time to cut through to that one, I'll talk about how to culminate your optical telescope. If we've got time, I might skip it. There's a few other articles here to fill up the hour. There's one from the Planetary Society called "Are We Trashing Space?", followed by a new light source that we all have to contend with. I mean, as if Elon Musk's Starlink satellites weren't giving astronomers hell. Here we have something else that's going up by the end of the year called Light Cube. So I'll just briefly talk about Light Cube and potentially hazardous asteroid. The size of the Empire State Building will skim past Earth on Thursday. Now that Thursday's already been and gone yesterday, but and we're all still here, so I don't think we have any problems with this particular asteroid. But let's just see what that article says. It's not very long, and then we'll scoot on to something about the lunar surface. Strange mystery lunar swirls on the lunar surface, and then I think we'll call it quits at that point. All right, so just checking the chat window, and VK3XL has just commented that I am 5 and 7 on his dummy load. That's a pretty good report. Okay, g'day Mike, I heard you up the band a little bit further on too. You were my band scope was definitely reflecting a strong signal, and it was. All right, just briefly, for those who are tuned in for the first time to the ASV's broadcast, I usually run with this every Friday, so here we go. I'll just cut through this very, very quickly if I can. The Astronomical Society of Victoria was founded in 1922, comprises of over 1,600 members scattered throughout the state of Victoria and Australia and overseas. Membership of the Society is open to all persons with an interest in astronomy. The Society's objectives are to encourage the practice of astronomy and the study, and to disseminate the knowledge of the science, and to provide greater facilities for the study among its members. There are monthly meetings which are usually held on the second Wednesday of each month, except in January where the latter is held on a Saturday night. Meetings start at 8 p.m. at the National Herbarium, Mullior Hall, Burwood Avenue in Melbourne, near the Melbourne Observatory, which is located not too far from the Shrine of Remembrance. Parking is available in Burwood Avenue, Dallas Brooks Drive and the surrounding streets. Admission is free and visitors are most welcome. Privileges of membership include the right to borrow books, periodicals and other publications from the Society's extensive library located at Melbourne Observatory. Receipt of the ASV's magazine Crux, containing articles, news, observing notes and the like, and the free provision of the Astronomical yearbook. Access is available to members to telescopes on members' nights held regularly at the Melbourne Observatory and after the monthly meetings, weather permitting. These instruments include the Society's 300mm equatorial reflector and a 300mm portable reflector. There's also a 200mm refractor which is managed by the Royal Botanic Gardens, and a photoheliograph are also housed at the observatory and are accessible to members too. The Society also has a number of 200mm reflectors available for short period loan, so members can try before you buy type idea. Regular Society Club Night meetings are held on the first and last Fridays of each month at the Lodge at the Society's property located in Burwood. Members are encouraged to use the Society's instruments located there to gain first-hand experience in how to use a telescope. These instruments include a 508mm equatorial reflector and a number of smaller reflectors. Members are also encouraged to make use of the Society's country property located near Heathcote, some 90-minute drive north of Melbourne. There are a range of instruments available for members to use, the larger two only with appropriate training, which range from 300 to 1000mm in aperture. Also located on the site is the 8.5 metre radio steerable telescope, which members can access with involvement in the radio astronomy section. Members are encouraged to make and use telescopes. Advice and help on both matters are provided willingly to newcomers desiring to do the same. Instrument making is only one of the number of common interest activities catered for within the Society. Other areas of interest that members can participate in include deep sky observing, astrophotography, lunar and planetary observing, auroral, meteor, comet, radio astronomy, computing, cosmology and astrophysics, and historical studies and research and astronomy in general. They're all catered for. You can find out more information about those sections by going to the Astronomical Society of Victoria's website at www.asv.org.au and look under the sections tab, and all 20 sections will be listed, and there you click on each link and it opens up to a new page or a separate page for each section, which will give you a rundown on what goes on with each section and contact details for the section directors. If you wish to come along and sit in on a meeting, that's usually okay for the first time visit. That you'll be welcome to sit in on a Zoom meeting or at the actual meeting itself if they're being held at the club room. Please note that the ASV will conform to government health directives. ASV events may be required to be cancelled, moved or postponed. Further information may be obtained by visiting the AFC website as mentioned, or writing to the Secretary of the Astronomical Society of Victoria at GPO Box 1059, Melbourne, Victoria 3001. And all will be revealed. So that's the ASV in a nutshell, the usual nutshell that I read out every week. I must try and do variations on a theme on that one, so it's not so tedious. All right, a very pleasant good evening to Brett, VK2 Charlie Baker Delta. G'day, Brett, for tuning in. And Serge, he says, what is he saying? Hi, Clint, I'm also listening to you on a little Digitech AR178 shortwave receiver. Okay, is that got valves in it, Serge? Okay. Sorry. Are you watching YouTube, more importantly, Mr. Serge? All right, we all know Serge. Okay, now you're tuned to ASV Radio VK3 EKH with VK3 CSJ on the microphone. We've been broadcasting since 1988, and I've been manning the mic since whenever it was, 12 years ago. It's been 12 years now. G'day to Russell Ward, if you're listening. Russell used to man the microphone for the first 20 years. And he usually finds time to listen on a Friday night. So anyway, g'day Russell, if you're listening in there. Like I say, there's no television broadcast tonight. The ATV repeater is down for maintenance, so it's just 80 simulcasting on 160 AM, 1865. I think I forgot to mention that. We're simulcasting on 1865 kilohertz amplitude modulation, 100 watts into a vertical antenna down the back paddock, which is just 6 meters from a creek, which is partially flooded, I'd say, by now. All right, now just having a quick look at the ASV homepage. Breaking news, planetary isolation rules relaxed. It says here that you heard it here first from the ASV live stream team. The planetary isolation rules will be relaxed from Sunday, May the 1st at 5 a.m. in the morning. And he says that join us as we bring the amazing conjunction of Jupiter and Venus live into your home with Vision Direct from within the solar system. I think that's Mark talking there. It's his usual enthusiasm breaking through. But yes, there it is. They're talking. I see what they're on about now. I thought it was COVID related, but it's not. Yeah, so they're Sunday morning. There it is, Sunday morning on YouTube. If you're up and have got a computer next to your bed, tune in to the YouTube stream, the ASV live stream, and they're going to be televising the conjunction of Jupiter and Venus live into your home from 5 a.m. Sunday, 5 a.m. in the morning. So there's a bit of a plug there as well. Right, so that's enough of that. Okay, let's get into the first article. Thanks, Rob. Okay, just checking the chat window. Oh dear, it's a distraction. Anyway, this is VK3 EKH, ASV Radio. This is coming in from the Green Bank Observatory over there in the States. The future of Earth's defense. is ground-based planetary radar. Green Bank Telescope will be the largest fully steerable antenna in the world capable of transmitting radar signals for research. Actually, I've got a little image here that I plan to bring up. Let me just see if I can cue that in. Right, so for that, I automatically went to look at the TV repeater, but it's a blank screen. All right, back to the article. I won't keep that on screen because it's a bit of a boring picture, really. So I'll go back to me in a moment. Okay, basically that picture that you are actually seeing on YouTube channel, a new radar system being developed by the National Radio Astronomy Observatory and the Green Bank Observatory will transmit powerful radar signals from the Green Bank Telescope. And in this illustration that you're seeing on the screen, bounce those signals off the moon. The reflected signal can be received by antennas of the Very Long Baseline Array in various locations across the US, Hawaii and Virgin Islands. The combination of antennas acts as a giant high-resolution radar imaging system. See, that's how they're going to do it. Okay, because as we all know, the Arecibo radio telescope has collapsed, and the Arecibo radio telescope represented a fairly high intensity radar transmitter, and which could image. I guess the main task was asteroids. Image asteroids and also reflect signals off planets within the solar system, and lots of research came from that. But once the Arecibo failed, then any source of radar imaging was all gone. So it looks like the Green Bank Observatory has now fitted their transmitter, their dish with a transmitter. Let's just read on with the article a bit more. Powerful radar systems have played a major role in the study of planets, moons, asteroids and other objects in our solar system for several decades, and now have a unique role to play in planetary defense, providing protection to the nations of the world from devastating asteroid and comet impacts, according to the newly released Planetary Science and Astrobiology Decadal Survey 2023 to 2032. The National Radio Astronomy Observatory, or NRAO, and the Green Bank Observatory, GBO, are developing new capabilities for the Green Bank Observatory, GBT, and the Very Long Baseline Array, VLBA, that will make them key instruments for meeting this need. The survey's report, published by the National Academies of Science and Engineering and Medicine, recounts the dangerous effects of impacts from near-Earth asteroids, NEOs. These effects range from the asteroid impact 66 million years ago that wiped out the dinosaurs, to a Siberian impact in 1908 that had an explosive equivalent of 3 to 20 megatons of TNT, to a 2013 impact in Chelyabinsk, Russia, equal to 440 kilotons that injured more than 1,600 people. These asteroid impacts are compared to the roughly 15 kiloton Hiroshima nuclear bomb. The key to mitigating such dangers is to track the objects and measure their sizes and other characteristics to determine the probability that they will strike Earth and the effect they would leave or would have if they do. According to the survey, radar is an essential tool for this task. Ground-based radar observations of NEOs provide invaluable information for long-term tracking, the survey said. Because NEO impacts energy scales with density, diameter and velocity, and radar can constrain all of these, planetary radar observations are an important post-discovery characterization technique, the survey added. Prior to its collapse in 2020, the Arecibo telescope possessed the most powerful radar capabilities of the world's astronomical community, often working with the GBT and VLBA as receivers. The next generation radar system being developed for the GBT and VLBA, and later the next generation VLBA A will help replace the capabilities lost at Arecibo. The survey recommended developing a plan for ground-based planetary radar capabilities compatible or comparable to or exceeding those of the Arecibo Observatory necessary for achieving planetary defense objectives. It also specifically noted the potential use of the GBT as a transmitting station. Since its dedication in the year 2000, the GBT has been a fundamental instrument for planetary science and planetary defense, observing NEOs and potentially hazardous asteroids, the Moon, and terrestrial planets as a receiver for radar projects. Now, thanks to new technology under development for the GBT, it is the largest fully steerable antenna in the world capable of transmitting radar signals for research. The GBT's 100-meter diameter makes it an impressive tool for radar work. The location of the GBT and its maneuverability permits it to observe 85% of the celestial sphere, allowing it to quickly track objects across its field of view. A recent article in the Microwave Journal reported on radar experiments done using the GBT and VLBA that successfully produced high-resolution images of the Moon and detected a near-Earth asteroid making a close flyby of Earth more than 5 times farther away than the Moon, using less power than a microwave oven. In these tests, as proof of concept, the GBT transmitted a 650-watt radar signal at 13.9 GHz that was received by the VLBA antennas, producing radar images of the Moon's surface with unprecedented detail. The National Science Foundation has awarded funds for the conceptual design of a high-power radar system on the GBT, one that would be nearly 1,000 times more powerful than the proof of concept. In addition to a more powerful transmitter, NRAO and GBO, working with industrial partners, will leverage new solid-state amplifier and array receiving system technologies to maximize the effectiveness of the new system. In parallel to this, an additional funding is located. The team plans to move to final design and construction activities beginning next year. The GBT's new radar capabilities will introduce a tool that astronomy has not had before, collecting data at high resolutions and at wavelengths not previously available. NRAO and GBO also are developing advanced data reduction and analysis tools that have not been available before. The flexibility and increased performance of this new system will fill an important need for planetary defense and also allow astronomers to observe asteroids, comets, planets, and moons. The versatility of this system will contribute to many areas of science. I'll leave it at that, I think. So, just bring back to me. Okay, so there it is. That report there was courtesy of Greenbank Observatory. Where else? Okay, greenbankobservatory.org, all one word. Future of Earth's Defense is ground-based planetary radar. You're tuned to ASV Radio. VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. Okay, now the next thing I was going to talk about, I'm just having a quick scan of the amount of words. Mumble. I'm just making that on-the-fly decision to. I might go to the next one because that's a short one. Give your ears a bit of a break on that last one. All right, this is VK3EKH, and I've got an image for this one too, so I'll just throw that up on the screen. There it is, a potential Mars base. Elon Musk. Life on Mars will be dangerous, cramped, difficult, hard work, says Elon Musk. But rather, he would spend his money on Twitter. What a waste. Sorry, that was just my commentary I threw in there. Colonizing Mars won't be for the faint of heart, according to SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, who's just a little short on cash right now. So, sorry, I couldn't help it. It's very important to emphasize that Mars, especially in the beginning, will not be luxurious. Musk said in a video interview with Chris Anderson, the head of TED conferences, published Monday, it will be dangerous, cramped, and difficult and hard work. The billionaire compared recruitment efforts of Mars to an ad from a 1900s for an expedition to Antarctica with explorer Ernest Shackleton. The ad has since been debunked as a myth, but called for men willing to go on a hazardous journey and said a safe return was doubtful. The sales pitch for going to Mars is, it's dangerous, it's cramped. You might not make it back, it's difficult and it's hard work, Musk said. Living on Mars, although I think there are a few people on this planet that would be quite happy to do that. Living on Mars, a planet with an average temperature of minus 62 degrees Celsius, would be far more difficult than living in Antarctica, a region with an average temperature of minus 56 degrees. Mars has a rocky surface, riddled with volcanoes and canyons. The planet also has about 1/3 the gravity of Earth and a thinner atmosphere that would not be breathable for humans. Insider previously reported that a human without special equipment would die within minutes on the planet due to Mars's low atmospheric pressure. Musk wants to build a full-size city on Mars. In 2019, the billionaire estimated it would take 1 million tons of cargo to build a self-sustaining city on the planet, a process that would cost anywhere from US 100 billion to US 10 trillion, Musk estimated. But instead he would rather buy Twitter. I think this is important for maximising the probable lifespan for the humanity, or consciousness, Musk told Anderson. Human civilization could come to an end for external reasons like a giant meteor or supervolcanoes or extreme climate change or World War III. Or, any one of those number of reasons, he said. The richest man in the world told Anderson from SpaceX that SpaceX would determine a price point for tickets on future rockets to Mars that would be relatively affordable for most people, citing about 100,000 US hypothetical ticket price. Musk company SpaceX plans to build the self-sustaining city in the coming decades, though the billionaire told Anderson that he anticipates he will be long dead before his dream can become a reality. In 2020, Musk said he hoped to build 1,000 starships over 10 years and planned to send 1 million people to Mars by 2050. He has also said that the first human on Mars might land in 2029. The SpaceX CEO told Anderson that he anticipates the space company would have its first orbital launch for the Starship within a few months pending regulatory approval. Success is not guaranteed, but excitement certainly is, Musk said. Well, there you go. That was from the website sciencealert.com. Thank you, sciencealert.com. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3EKH, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with the regular Friday night broadcast. And we're coming to you from the studios of VK3 CSJ in Narre Warren South. We have an email address. I forgot to mention that we have an email address. If anybody wishes to send reports from tonight's broadcast, you can send an email to vk3ekh@gmail.com. vk3ekh@gmail.com. I am looking at the inbox as we speak, and I can see Don and Andrew has sent emails in. Thank you very much, chaps. I can't see anybody new on the chat window there, so nothing exciting happening there at the moment. All right, next article. Let me just check my article lineup. The time is 10:33. Oh yeah, okay, I'll go to this. This was potentially interesting. Okay. Amateur Broken Hill astronomer wins Astronomical Society of Australia award. This is a few weeks ago, April 18, but I've been holding on to this article, so I thought I'd better bring it up now. Okay. A Broken Hill amateur astronomer has won a national award for his contribution to a broad range of planetary science, particularly his work observing Saturn. Terry Barry was awarded joint winner of the Astronomical Society of Australia's 222 Burnett and Arthur Page Medal at the weekend. Let me just bring up a picture of him. I've got a shot of him near his telescope, which is just there, and bring that up. Here it is. And back to the article. The award is given to amateur astronomers who have contributed significantly to the science. Mr. Barry said he was amazed that he picked up the medal given his background, which include working in the local mines for a number of years. We are such a small community. This is up at Broken Hill. We're such a small community. We're very isolated, but Broken Hill people have actually excelled in such a wide range of fields, obviously mining and the arts and sport, he said. The other winner of this year's award was Backyard Observatory Supernova Search BOSS team, BOSS team, and a group that has found around 200 confirmed supernovas. But back to Mr. Barry. I've got another picture here of Mr. Barry. Bring it up. There it is. Back to the article. Mr. Barry's pathway to national astronomy recognition is an unusual one. The former mine worker is also a passionate local greenkeeper and was selected as a finalist in the Volunteer of the Year category at last year's Bowles SA Awards. He said he was also exploring the depths of space with his own custom-built observatory. He says, "I'm not doing my work with professionally made equipment," he said. "I designed and built my observatory. I designed and built my telescope. I designed and built the mount that the telescope swings on." He says, "I love what I do. I claim to be the only astronomer greenkeeper in Australia." Astronomical Society of Australia's president John Lattizino said Barry's work analysing Saturn had contributed to a number of research papers. Professor Lattizino said the work was helping astronomers understand a hexagonal feature in the planet's atmosphere. His data has been used by NASA and the Cassini mission in particular to fill in places when they can't see things, he said. It's led to a huge amount of data. I think he's got almost 9 years of monitoring this. It's really a fantastic effort for an amateur astronomer. It's remarkable. He said while Mr. Barry might not be a professional scientist, he was still contributing important work, scientific work. That's the sort of aim for this medal, to recognise people who aren't being paid for doing this, but are making significant advances. And that's exactly what Trevor's been doing, he said. The heartiest congratulations to him. He's an excellent role model for all of us, says the president of the Astronomical Society of Australia. So there it is. You know, amateur astronomers are a unique bunch. We stay up very late. No, it's not that. But it just goes to show that the amateur community in astronomers are out there discovering comets, and all the time there are any number of comets that have been first found by dedicated comet hunters, and you get your name on it. If you find it first, you can put your name on it. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, where the time is 10:38. I'm just skipping articles. I'm just sort of timing things as we go here on the fly. Okay. Where was the Apollo 16 thing? Yeah, look, that's it. I'll go with Apollo 16. I mean, I'm overdue a few weeks. Let's get this out of the way. All right, I've got a few images here of Apollo 16. Let's bring that up. There it is. Okay. Remembering Apollo 16. 50 years later. 50 years. 50 years ago, Apollo 16 almost didn't land on the moon. Did you know that? On April 20, 1972, I was 12 years old. Two spacecraft danced in tight formation high above an ambiguous grey and tan lunar landscape. Aboard the lunar module callsign Orion, astronauts John Young and Charles Duke steeled themselves for a tricky descent to land on the moon's rugged equator-hugging mountains, 148 kilometres north of the worn crater Descartes. Yes, sampling the lunar highlands, it was hoped might yield volcanic rocks and insights into the moon's past. Fate, though, had another card to play. Inside the command service module, callsign Casper, piloted by Ken Mattingly, all was not well. After undocking from Orion, Mattingly had to adjust his ship's orbit around the moon from elliptical to circular for 3 days of surface observations. To do that, he needed to fire Casper's engine. But when Mattingly tested its controls, the ship unexpectedly shuttered, as if he was riding down a rickety railroad track. It was unwelcome news. If Casper's engine was damaged, hopes of Young and Duke landing on the moon would evaporate, and 2 years after the near disaster of Apollo 13, any whiff of failure would prompt nervous politicians and a jittery NASA top brass to cancel the sole remaining lunar voyage, Apollo 17. So, back in 1970, young Duke and Jack Swigert were Apollo 13's backup crew when Duke caught German measles. Since the backup's crew worked closely with prime crewman Jim Lovell, Fred Hesse and Mattingly, both crews risked infection. Mattingly lacked immunity to measles, and fearful that they might get sick in space, NASA opted to go with Swigert instead. A year later, young Duke and Mattingly were tapped for Apollo 16. That was the word they used. But illness was never far away. Shortly after launch, Duke came down with bacterial pneumonia, that one. Anomia, I can't pronounce it, doesn't matter. And doctors found elevated levels of bilirubin, a possible indicator of hepatitis, in Mattingly's blood. Both men were cleared to fly. But on the launch morning, April 16, 1972, Hayes couldn't resist one final prank. As Duke climbed into the spacecraft, teetering atop a 36-story Saturn V rocket, he spotted a note taped to his seat. In Hayes' handwriting, it read, "Welcome, Typhoid Mary." Typhoid, that's it, Typhoid Mary. Oh dear. Apollo 16, 4-day trek to the moon, proved uneventful, but after Orion and Casper parted company in lunar orbit, the engine glitch stalled everything. They flew in formation for 4 hours, as mission control figured out a solution. And I've got a picture of the guys trying to figure it out here. There it is. They're all in, big think mode. So this picture here you're seeing on the screen right now is NASA's officials worked to determine whether to push forward with the lunar landing of Apollo 16. You can just imagine the discussion going on there. Okay. At length, a landing was cautiously approved. On April 21, 1972, Young and Duke landed Orion on the undulating plan nestled between a pair of half-mile wide, 800-metre rayed impact craters, North Ray and South Ray. To the southeast, Domical Stone Mountain rose a ponderous 500 metre above the plain. Ponturous. Orion is finally here, drawled Duke like a kid at a fair. Fantastic, he said. But the delayed landing threw a carefully choreographed exploration plan into disarray. The excited astronauts were told to sleep before the first moonwalk. Duke's mind was racing, so he took a sleeping pill. Young slept like a brick. Revealing the moon's history. The next morning, Young hopped down Orion's ladder and planted his boots into alien soil, raising both fists in triumph. And there you are, our mysterious unknown Descartes Highland Plains, he breathed. Apollo 16 is going to change your image. And that image was predicted to be a volcanic one. Earlier Apollo crews found basalt rocks on the moon, but they mainly landed on a flat Maria terrain laid only a few 100 million years ago. Sampling the more ancient highlands offered a window into the moon's past, stretching back 3.5 billion years or more. Geologists were certain that Descartes harboured volcanic rocks, that a good chunk of Young and Duke training was done in volcanic locales on Earth, including Hawaii and Arizona. They deployed the battery-powered lunar rover to facilitate exploration on wheels. Over 3 days, the rover ferried them across 26.7 kilometres of hummocky terrain. But the glaring sun at their backs bleached the surface into a featureless blanket. Landmarks clearly visible on their maps went unseen until the last moment, obliging Young to drive no faster than a couple of miles per hour, lest he run over a scarp. The pair planted the US flag and assembled a set of scientific instruments. Duke drilled holes to implant probes for a surface heat flow investigation. But Young, unable to see his boots while encased in his bulky spacesuit, accidentally tripped over a cable and ruined the experiment. With time against them, they had little option but to press on. Volcanic rocks proved frustratingly elusive. They tried finding them at the 1,000-foot wide Flag crater, then at Plume, affectionately named by Young and for his daughter, Spook and Buster craters. None revealed the merest hint of volcanism. Instead, the Descartes Hills seemed universally composed of ejecta hurled across the surface by countless ancient impacts. Ascending Stone Mountain's flank, they reached an elevation of 500 feet, 150 metres higher than any other Apollo explorers. This advantage point furnished stunning views of South Ray Crater, a yawning bowl more than 5 times wider than a football field. Its hinterland was too rough for the rover to negotiate safely, but Young and Duke sampled one of its bright rays. And I think I've got one more picture here to show. This is at one of the rocks that they were sampling. What you're seeing there is Charles Duke examines a huge boulder dubbed House Rock near the North Ray crater. On their third and last moonwalk, the pair headed for North Ray, whose steep walls plunged 700 feet, 215 metres, from the rim to an unseen rock-slewn floor. They chipped shards from a shadow face of a huge boulder dubbed House Rock. Duke joked that he sampled a rock of West Texas like that, and he'd earn a rattlesnake bite for his trouble. Another specimen named Big Muley for geologist Bill weighed 11.8 kilograms. These rocks dated back 3.92 billion years, far older than the earliest life on Earth. Finally, expect the unexpected. In total, Young and Duke spent 71 hours on the moon and 20 hours walking across its surface. After returning to lunar orbit and a happy Mattingly aboard Casper, the homeward journey was a quiet one. Mattingly made a 84-minute spacewalk, 50,000 miles or 80,000 kilometers above the moon, to retrieve photographic film, almost losing his wedding ring in the process. How would you lose your wedding ring? Anyway, Apollo's 16 success was hard-won. The lack of volcanic rocks at Descartes, I know that word, I just can't pronounce it at the moment, underscored a central tenet of exploration to expect the unexpected, and through his trials, Sweet 16 hammered home another key truth. For as the late John Young once remarked, to make progress, you have to take risks. The lesson will undoubtedly be in the minds of the next generation of lunar explorers when they plant their own boots in alien soil as a part of the Artemis program. 11 minutes to 11. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, VK3 EKH, with the regular Friday night broadcast coming to you from the studios of VK3 CSJ. Oh, I keep forgetting to put me back on the screen here. All right. I think I've got time for this next article, which is something about, where was it? I just had it. Is that it? Keeping the moon in favour, perhaps. Yeah, I'm just checking the size of this. So there's a lot of pictures in it. No, it's not, that doesn't seem that long either. Anyway, all right. Are we trashing space? Courtesy of the Planetary Society. This is dated April 21, 2022. On Mars right now are two tiny robots on skis. Weighing only about 4.5 kilograms, these Soviet-made Prop M robots have been there since 1971, or ready to explore its dusty surface. Unfortunately, they never will. Mars 2 crash-landed, while Mars 3 stopped communicating soon after it landed. The first human-made objects to reach the surface of Mars have been littering it for 50 years. Their first 20 years has ignored failures. Mars 3, first ever photo of the Martian environment, was judged to be of poor scientific value and didn't come to light until the 1980s, when a visitor to the Academy of Sciences in Moscow asked to see the photo. The spacecraft was later discovered on the Martian surface. A spacecraft like these disgusting space junk or valuable space Are spacecraft like these disgusting space junk or valuable space archaeology, is the question being asked. Well, what is space junk? To most of us, space junk means defunct satellites clogging up low Earth orbit, but the Moon the Moon, Mars, and Venus, and even a moon of Saturn's, contain plenty of human-made space hardware. The presumed defunct NASA probe Pioneer 10, launched in 1972, is humanity's furthest dead satellite at 131 astronomical units, though right now our farthest object left on another world is on Saturn's giant moon Titan. About the size of two refrigerators, the Huygens probe was jettisoned from the NASA's Cassini orbiter on Saturn on Jan 14, 2005, to dive into Titan's dense nitrogen atmosphere. It rains liquid methane on Titan, which may have caused the parachute to decay, but because methane doesn't react with aluminium, the shell of Huygens should still be intact. And there's kind of an artist's impression here, so I'll just bring up the artist's impression. Okay, back to the article. So there you're seeing an artist's interpretation of the area surrounding Huygens landing site based on images and data returned on Jan 14, 2005. Okay, continuing on. Space litter on Mars. If Titan is only lightly littered, that's not true for the Red Planet. All landers on Mars have a parachute, but because the atmosphere is really thin, once it's on the surface, it stays where it is, said Dr. Mark Patton, a research scientist at the Finnish Meteorological Institute, studying how otherworldly winds can affect space junk. There's also a heat shield, but that's jettisons high above the surface, so it lands far from the rover. The real worry is the sky crane. Both the Curiosity 2012 and Perseverance 2021 rovers were lowered using onto the Martian surface by this small spacecraft, which flies off to crash about 700 meters away. NASA is worried about the sky crane because it carries some rocket fuel in its tanks, said Patton. When it crashes on Mars, some fuel gets released into the environment and possibly can contaminate the soil. And I think I've also got a picture of that. Do I? Oh, there was an image of the cap. I didn't save it. All right, doesn't matter. Okay, back to me. They do have actually a picture of the cap. It's all broken and in pretty bad state. So, space junk on Venus. Few worry about Venus landers, which most presume quickly melt into a puddle, but that's not actually true. From 1970s Verona 7 onward, the cores of Venus landers were made using titanium to withstand 180 atmospheres and 450 degrees Celsius. But titanium melts around 1600 degrees Celsius, said Alice Gorman, a space archaeologist at the Flinders University of South Australia's Department of Archaeology. Multiple Venus landers therefore still likely survive on Venus, as do the windows of the 4 probes deployed into the atmosphere during NASA's Pioneer Venus mission in 1978, which were made using diamonds and sapphires. The rest may have decayed, but you could definitely go looking for jewels on the surface of Venus, said Gorman. So what's been left on the moon, you might ask? There's more treasure on the moon, at least for space archaeologists. There are hundreds of human-made objects there, from crashed spacecraft and lunar rovers to TV cameras and golf balls. There's also almost 100 bags of human waste. Gorman thinks that the trash-strewn Apollo landings sites on the moon will one day come under threat of looting. Really? People would pay huge sums of money for a piece of Apollo 11. It will be some of the most collectible stuff ever, she said. So when lunar surface activity ramps up, we're going to have to protect these sites. That we already need heritage management guidelines for the moon is a clue that space junk is a loose concept that seems only to refer to recently defunct things. It's also a hugely subjective term. Litter is things that have been discarded, like confectionery wrappers in a national park, but that's not true for anything in space, which has all been very carefully planned, and mostly it's all for scientific purposes, said Gorman. We humans are as much of a part of the solar system as anything else, and we're creating new kinds of human landscapes. So, and of course now there's also satellites and telescopes in orbit. There are more than 6,000 satellites orbiting Earth. About half of them are defunct, while the Department of Defense Global Space Surveillance Network tracks around 27,000 pieces of orbital debris. The oldest is Vanguard 1, launched in 1958, and only the second US satellite ever launched. It will burn up in the Earth's atmosphere in about 300 years, but are these relics decaying? Are they decaying? ? Space is full of micrometeorites, cosmic and planetary dust, and high-energy particles, so spacecraft surfaces do gradually erode, said Gorman, but they remain whole until they collide with something else. A number of satellites in orbit around our planet is also growing rapidly. SpaceX's Starlink broadband internet satellites, which could number 30,000, look likely to be the first of several such mega constellation projects. Starlink's orbit at an average of 550 kilometres, so they are constantly re-entering, said Gorman, though their very existence increases collision risks. There's predicted to be 100,000 of them by the end of the decade, so the intent that the density out there is going to be radically increased. We're not going to be entombed by a blanket of space garbage anytime soon, as envisaged by the Klesiak-Kopale syndrome, whatever that might be. But there's another place in space where famous spacecraft go to live, work and die. Welcome to the Sun-Earth Lagrange points. Here, the gravity of Earth and Sun combine to create a stable location where spacecraft can remain in position while using very little fuel. One of these Lagrange points is the new home for the James Webb Space Telescope at a distance of 1.5 million kilometres from Earth. But what will happen to the telescope once its fuel runs dry in 20 years or so? Eventually it will move off, and Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster, the first car launched into space in 2018, go into orbit of the sun for go into an orbit of the sun for millions of years, and that is definitely space junk. So when does space junk become pollution? If and when commercial mining happens on the moon, private missions are sent to Mars, we could begin to see industrial byproducts of the same kind that we see contaminating landscapes on Earth. The court of public opinion will probably turn out to have very strong feelings about where the dividing line is between what's acceptable and what isn't, said Gorman. But for now, whether you think it's trash or treasure, space junk isn't going away anytime soon. Okay, thank you Planetary Society for that little article. Heavens above, and it was. Alright, I didn't think I'd get through all these articles I had tonight, but there it is. Alright, spaceweather.com. Let's go quickly to space weather. Spaceweather.com. The solar wind is currently at 540 kilometres a second, 540.2 kilometres a second at a density of 8.97 protons per cubic centimetre. The current disk of the sun, which I can bring up. The current disk of the sun as of the 29th of April has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sunspots on the surface of the disk. So if we could see the sun right now, we'd be able to count at least, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 7 sunspots, which you can see on screen right now. It's not the best resolution, but at least you can sort of see something there, I guess. Okay. The sunspot number is currently 118. And the radio sun is at 132 solar flux units, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimetres. 132 solar flux units. There is a M-class solar flare. A spotless region of the sun exploded on April 29, producing a beautiful M1 class solar flare. Debris from the explosion does not appear to be heading for Earth. Confirmation of a miss awaits fresh data from the SOHO coronagraphs. Okay, and there's a picture of a meteor here. I haven't saved that picture, but if you go to spaceweather.com, there is what are they saying here? Planets aren't supposed to have trails, but Mercury does. Oh, okay. This is a rather interesting picture, in fact. This is really interesting. Once I get my observatory up and running, my optical observatory up and running, I hope to make a stab at taking a photograph of Mercury's sodium tail. Let me see if I can just quickly save this picture and bring it up on the screen. Let me just do this for you all. And just bring it up here. This is VK3EKH. I'm going a little overtime here. Image, browse, there it is. Open, okay, and click there and bring it up. There it is. So you folks that are watching my YouTube channel, VK3CSJ on YouTube, that image you see right there is Mercury, and it's sodium tail. Planets aren't supposed to have trails or tails, but Mercury does. Dr. Sebastian Voltmar, not voltmeter, but Volmar, just photographed it from La Palma in the Canary Islands. This is not a comet, stress, not a comet you're seeing here, not even a meteor, but the planet Mercury, which is currently very close to the constellation of Pleiades. How is the tail formed, you might ask? The solar wind and micrometeorites eject sodium atoms from Mercury's surface. This creates a yellow-orange tail of sodium gas that is around 2.5 million kilometers long. And that's what you're seeing in this image. People around the world have been watching Mercury climb up the evening sky this month. Some of them are probably wondering, why didn't they see this tail? Well, the answer is a special filter is required. You can't see it by eye. The astronomer here, Voltmar, says he used a 589 nanometer filter. A 589 nanometer filter tuned to the yellow glow of sodium. Without this kind of sodium filter, Mercury's tail would be invisible. Voltmar says the tail is so bright he could see it in an individual 30-second exposure. I can see some very small changes in the shape of the tail, he says, and the brightness is slightly increasing. The nights ahead are excellent times to catch this phenomenon. On April 29 and April 30, Mercury will glide past Pleiades star cluster for a fantastic photo op. Then on May 1st and 2nd, the crescent moon joins the show. Currently, I'm imaging Mercury day by day, just after sunset from the Canary Islands. Well, there it is. Isn't that fascinating? I have mentioned this before. I did bring up the sodium trail before, but there's a really beautiful picture just below Pleiades from the Canary Islands. So that's quite taining. I'm going to invest in a 589 nanometer filter. I wonder how much one of those will be. Anyway, as we speak, we just check out the auroral australis over Antarctica, and there is a significant auroral activity at the moment. It's a fairly decent ring, which is favouring towards Tasmania, but there's nothing terribly, there's no red component to it. It's just a slight tinge of yellow, but there is a fairly good auroral australis activity over Antarctica as I speak. As of the 28th of April 2022, there was 8 fireballs recorded, but that's not what I was going to say. As of the 29th of April, I thought the date was not right. As on the 29th of April 2022, there are 2,276 potentially hazardous asteroids. On that note, I was going to give a bit of a plug for Mount Burnett Observatory. I do have a slide for that too. There's just so many things I was going to mention tonight. It's amazing how 60 minutes just doesn't do it. Constant waffle, and I can't get there with everything I have. There it is. All right. Okay, so the Mount Burnett Observatory is back in action since COVID has been, all the restrictions on COVID has been pretty much reduced. So Mount Burnett meets every Friday night. So for those folks that live up in the hills, if you want to get a chance to go to a telescope in an observatory, go to Mount Burnett Observatory up in the hills. Mount Burnett Observatory is a non-for-profit astronomical society based in Mount Burnett at the Dandenong Ranges east of Melbourne. The observatory was originally built by Monash University in 1972. Staff and students used the telescopes at Mount Burnett for many years, but as astronomy entered the digital era of analogue equipment at the observatory was superseded by larger, more modern telescopes elsewhere. When MBO was formed in 2011, the observatory had not been used for several years. Mount Burnett Observatory is now the focus of a thriving community of astronomers of all ages drawn together by common love for learning about the night sky and the objects in it. The Mount Burnett Observatory acknowledges the observatory is built on the lands of the Wurundjeri people and the Bungarong people and the Southeast Kulin Nation. There it is, a little bit of Aboriginal information there too. All right, so I just really wanted to plug that as well because I haven't mentioned the MBO for quite a while, so I thought I'd give them a bit of a plug before I finish tonight. I'll leave the other articles for I'm tired already for next week. It's 9 minutes past the hour. I am going to close the 160 metre service. So you have been listening to yet another broadcast from the Astronomical Society of Victoria. We have been broadcasting on 1865 kilohertz AM. We are going to close that service on medium wave service tonight. We'll be back next Friday to do it all again. There will be a callback on 80 metres, 3541 kilohertz. So if you wish to come up on 80 metres, please do so. Or send us an email to vk3ekh@gmail.com. On behalf of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, thank you for listening on 80 metres. I hope the AM signal has been heard far and wide and with some sort of clarity. So, like I say, any more information on the ASV, go to www.asv.org.au. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, VK3 EKH, coming to you from the studios of VK3 CSJ, Narre Warren South, concluding transmissions on 1865 kilohertz. We bid you a very pleasant weekend. All right. Okay, now standby stations on 80 metres while I get a piece of paper here, and I hope the signal on 160 was heard. Let me just quickly check the signal reports up here on the email. Come on, mouse, where are you? Don always gives me a good report. Don says the rain must be keeping your signal tonight, helping your signal. It's 40 over 9 on 80 and 30 on 160. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the ground out there is particularly wet tonight. Thanks, Don. That's really good. I'm glad to see that it was such a good signal. Andrew VK3KIS reports, he says, sorry about the late check-in. That's okay. I've gone plenty well over time tonight. I hope you got the previous email with the picture. I think I did. Oh, yes. Yes, I think I did. Yes, it did. Oh, yes, I was going to bring that up too. Did I save that anywhere in my collection of images here? Looking at vMix. That's Mars. Damn it. Yeah, I thought I did. I know it's on the computer here, but we'll have to leave it till next week because I could just go on for another hour if I really wanted to. Anyway, let me just have a drink of this ouzo. All right. Is there anybody that's still awake? This is VK3 EKH, listening on 3541 kilohertz for any stations wishing to check in.
VK3 Tango Juliet Sierra. VK5 Whiskey Alpha.
All right, well, there's a bunch of you that all doubled at the same time. So all I've got down is VK3JR, VK7JAH, VK3TJS, and VK5 Whiskey Alpha. Who else was there?
VK3HDX.
Okay, got VK3KIS and VK3HDX. Okay, well, it might have been VK3VIN that I heard rather than KIS, but I'll leave it there anyway, because you both doubled. Is there any other stations wishing to check in? Okay. To the top of the list, g'day Frank, VK3JR, VK3EKH.
VK3 EKH, VK3JR. It's very, very good indeed, and there are terrific signals everywhere. The sun's possibly doing the right thing, and there's more ahead. Great times ahead for here. Super interesting as usual. Thanks to you. Look forward to next week. Take care. VK3 and 732 to Ian and Andrew for frequency and to all others. VK3 EKH, VK3JR.
Thanks, Frank. VK3JR, VK3EKH reply. Good signal from you. You're about hovering about 10 to 20 over 9. And they're coming through very, very well indeed. Thanks for the report there, Frank. You sound a little bit tired, so it's my fault for keeping you up for so long and hearing my endless voice for 70 minutes. Anyway, I think I know where you're about to head to, so you'll be having a real late night if that's you're going to go across and see Steve. Anyway, thanks, Frank. Good on you. Across to Martin, VK7JAH, VK3EKH. Good on you, Martin. Did you do you catch up on, or do you watch on the YouTube channel as well? But out of interest, because I don't think you don't normally mention that. Good on you. All right, no worries. Well, like I said, there was no television repeater tonight, so the only visions capable from here was via the YouTube channel. So it seems to work out reasonably well for me. Anyway, good on you. Thanks, Martin. You're not too bad tonight. You're about 5 to 10 over 9, so usually you're just a little bit in the noise, but you're doing very well. We're across to you there, Jack. VK3TJS, Shepparton, VK3EKH.
VK3EKH, this is VK3TJS. Thank you very much, Lynn. And good broadcast and lovely signal from you, 20 over all the time. We've got a bit of a noise in here and also quite a bit of rain in Shepparton. So today was kind of a bit of overcast, but in the evening started to rain. So anyway, thanks for the broadcast again, and good evening to everyone that's joining the call back, and hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll try to do some productive work. VK3KH, this is VK3TJS.
Good on you, Jack. VK3TJS, Shepparton, VK3EKH. Yes, I think there's I think this band of rain is gone right across the whole state. Fortunately, it's continuing to move on right now. It's not going to linger and flood things. What is it? 27. Yeah, we got 27 mils here. 27.8 millimeters of rain has fallen. So, yep, that's it. So, what is it? Just checking. Oh, I don't know. Hang on. Yeah. I can't see the display. It's too far away. It's about 28 mil, I think. It's a lot of rain. All right. Thanks, Jake. VK5 Whiskey Alpha. Is that Dallas? I can't remember. VK5 Whiskey Alpha, VK3. Yes, it is. VK3 EKH.
Network or something, but good on you, Clint. Yeah, that sounds good. Just I didn't try this thing on 160. Usually it's difficult here. call, so but this seemed to go through quite well. I'm ready to state that I listened a bit, I listened last week actually, and I called in, but nobody heard me. That was up near the Queensland border there. That's portable, so might have been bad conditions, but anyway, that's about it. Thank you. Catch you next time. VK3 EKH, VK5 Whiskey Alpha.
Thanks, Dallas. VK5 Whiskey Alpha, VK3 EKH returning. Very good. You're 20 over 9 here into Narre South. So a beautiful signal coming in from the Hillbank. So from Hillbank. So very good indeed. Thanks, Dallas. And no, I didn't hear anything. If you tried, there was so much noise last week. It's actually quite quiet tonight. It's not so noisy tonight. So now the cold front is kind of moved on and heading east. It's just, the atmosphere has settled down a bit. Thanks, Dallas. Thanks very much for coming up. It's now is Andrew? Are you there? VK3KIS. I'm not sure if you did call in, but are you there? VK3KIS, VK3EKH. No, okay, it was a mix of stations. Have a say, Don, VK3HDX, VK3EKH.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. VK3EKH and the group VK3HDX. Great broadcast tonight. Wiping signal on 160 here tonight. The rain is really helping it. It was really loud and really nice to listen to on AM. Interesting topics tonight too. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for the broadcast, Clint, and we'll look forward to catching you again next week. VK3EKH, VK3HDX.
Thanks, Don. VK3HDX, VK3EKH. Yeah, because I've been using AM on 160. If the signal is good, then the AM should sound pretty good, I think. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I kind of elect to run the AM, and I probably will continue to do that into the future as well for 160. I mean, I look at my noise floor on 160 at the moment, and there's no real interference there, although there's a little bit of switch mode interference. But in AM mode, the noise floor is about 18 over 9. So, for me to sit there and listen to a comfortable AM signal, it needs to be a fairly good signal, 30 to 40 over 9 sort of thing. On SSB, it's a bit different. The noise floor drops to about S9. But really, this area is quite noisy on 160. It's better that I just transmit and don't worry about receive. Okay, next station on the list is Ian, VK3VIN. Have a say. Oops, wrong one. Human waste. Thanks, Ian. VK3VIN, VK3EKH. Yes, you're hovering between 10 and 20. So not a bad signal coming in from yourself too tonight. So no, you're getting out. No problems at all. All right. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other stations wishing to check in? VK3EKH.
You always seem to get a little bit
Yeah, g'day Tony, VK3VAT, VK3EKH. I'll put you down there as the last station. Yeah, I need to just check my rain gauge. Hang on a sec. Let me just see what it is. No, I was right. Yeah, 28 mil. We've had 28 millimetres exactly right now. 28 millimetres. So that's a lot. That's enough to be of little concern to the back of this place, because if we have too much rain run off the property next door, we get flooded at the back of the barn here, and it's we need to do something about the drainage problem that we have. But we've lived here at the barn for about 11 years now, and we still haven't bothered to fix up the drainage issue at the back. So when it rains a lot, we tend to get a little bit flooded in the back of the barn. 100 bags of human waste are on the moon. Well, what else are you going to do with it, I guess? But it's all in sealed bags, though. Yeah, they're all sealed. But yeah, interesting thought. All right, thanks, Tony. Okay, so I'll just take one more listen. VK3EKH, listening on 3541. Right, VK3ALC. It's a good call sign. It's not ringing bells. VK3ALC, have a say. VK3EKH, the name is Clint. Yeah, thanks, Trevor. VK3ALC, VK3EKH. The home call signs VK3CSJ, VK3 Charlie Sierra Juliet. VK3CSJ is the home call, and the VK3EKH call sign is the official club call or society call sign for the Astronomical Society of Victoria. And every Friday night we run a broadcast here on 80 and simulcast 160, and by the Melbourne television repeater and the YouTube channel and audio stream if I've got it running. But yeah, on behalf of the Astronomical Society, I just spend about an hour, present the latest news and items in astronomy and anything of general interest. And we've been doing that every Friday night. It's been going since 1988. It always interests me when we get stations that call in and say, "Oh, I didn't know you were down here. I was just tuning about 80 metres. I could see something down the far end of the band." And so yeah, 3541 is the frequency we usually choose. So have chosen for many years. I've been doing it for 12 years, and Russell Ward, VK3DRW, took on the first 20 years. So I just took over the mic. So that's it, and I'm just about to finish up. So we've been going since 10 o'clock, so it's the old vocal cords is just about had it, I think, and the speech centre in the brain is almost had it too. But good to meet you, Trevor. Thanks for coming up, and like I say, we'll be here again next Saturday to do it all again. I'm not sure if you're interested in astronomy. Where you're located down there at Mordialloc, there's the Mornington Peninsula Astronomical Society would be your nearest Astronomical Society that you could probably step in and have a sit-in on a session. I might give them a plug next week. The MPAC, I think is the acronym, but Mornington Peninsula Astronomical Society. They have a dark sky site it's up there at the back of Mount Eliza. There's a name for it. Escapes me right now, but they've got a little property somewhere at the back of Mount Eliza in a region just up there. It's what they call a dark sky site, where they can set up telescopes and check the sky out. Anyway, that's another story. Thanks, Trevor, for calling in. I'll bring you in one more time. VK3 ALC, VK3 EKH.
Yeah, thanks, Clint. As I said, I've listened to you guys on and off for the last probably few months.
Oh, okay.
I'm usually on a bit later at night, and get on to the RCA. And listen, it's got the most people's usual problem of a lot of HF radios. So you can have one on and one transmitting and many listening. So there you go. Yeah, a little bit of interest in astronomy. I think probably more than most amateurs do. Interested in sciencey sort of stuff, and I was interested this morning to catch the four planets aligned there. I think it's been a bit grey the last few days to see that, but not this morning. So there you go. I'll won't be afraid. I'll say good day whenever I hear you guys on. Maybe even 160. You said you simulcast at 160, so I might go down there and see if I can have a bit of a listen. It's always been a wish, I suppose, of mine to get on to 160, particularly on AM, and have a bit of a play. So there you go. Back to you there, Clint, and have a good night. And I'll say hello to everybody else on the net as well, which I'm sure there's one or two. VK3 EKH, 3 ALC.
VK3 ALC, VK3 EKH. No worries, Trevor. Okay. You did say at the beginning that you'd heard the broadcast a number of times before, so I just forgot that you said that. But no problem. Good on you. Thanks for coming up on the frequency. I know there's a swag of listeners out there that don't usually make themselves known, but that's all right. That's all right. And I was going to say something about radio astronomy too. One of my other interests is radio astronomy side of it, and one thing I've been thinking about doing for the Mornington Peninsula Society is setting up a radio Jove receiver for detecting decametric emissions from Jupiter, and also just solar flares and galactic center. Three basic things you can do with a very simple radio telescope that operates at around 20 megahertz. So I don't think the Mornington Peninsula has any radio astronomy aspect to it at the moment. That's why I'm a bit keen to get something up and running down there at some point in the future. I don't know when, but the radio astronomy and optical astronomy go hand in hand these days. So. But nevertheless, thanks, Trevor, for calling in. And 160 is, if you've got a nice quiet location, 160 is quite good, really. There's a signal up on 1865 right now from Steve, VK3SL. He's doing some test transmissions, on AM on 1865. All right, on that note, I shall conclude the transmission for tonight. So thank you, everybody, for calling in tonight. Frank, Martin, Jack, Dallas, Don, Ian, Tony, and Trevor. And Tony, I mentioned Tony, didn't I? Yes. And everybody that's on the chat window there, there's a few folks. G'day, John, VK3BLX. He's come up on the chat a little bit late, but better late than never, as he says. Kim over in Western Australia, Struth, in Adelaide. G'day, Kim. Cheers, Kim. VK5 FUSE. Even Rob, VK3KHN, has come in. And yeah, you can catch up on the YouTube thing, because the YouTube thing it's recording, so you can catch up with it later. Sergio, I don't know if you're still listening there, Serge, but my humblest apologies not getting back to you. I know you've left a million messages on the phone to call you back. The mobile phone, when I'm on holidays or the weekend or something, the mobile phone is not necessarily always near me, and in half the time it's got a flat battery. So my apologies for not getting back to you, but we'll see if we can do something to have a short stress phone call. Thanks, Serge. He says something about a mirror in front of the radio. I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, who else is there? Brett. Yeah, cheers, Brett. VK2CBD. Come on, mouse, work for me. Got to bring this screen down. And Mike, 3XL. Cheers to you there, Mike, if you're still listening up the road. And I don't think there's anyone else there. No. Okay. So cheers to Rob, if you're still listening there, Mr. Roberto. And of course, next week I'm turning 62 next week, so I'll getting older. Cheers, everyone. Take care. Look after yourself. Thanks very much for listening in. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel. Just check out the QRZ.com page for any more information on the station. Meanwhile, we shall conclude transmissions on 80 metres, and we're back next week, 10 o'clock on 3541 and everywhere else. And the TV repeater should also be back on air. And for those stations that are viewing the TV repeater, for those who come up on the ATV net on Tuesday nights, guess what? I'm hosting it. So that's my birthday. So that's my special thing to do on Tuesdays, is to have a special ATV party. That's actually an idea. I'll plug it that way. Maybe they'll get more up on the frequency. It's a thought. Cheers, everyone. VK3EKH with VK3CSJ on the microphone, concluding service for tonight. Good night, everyone. All right, thank you for watching on the ATV channel. If you are latecomers and want to go back onto some of the articles tonight, you're more than welcome to rewind the videotape and catch up where you left off last, whatever. So thanks for watching. I don't know how many stations or how many people have been watching YouTube, but that doesn't matter. Don't worry about subscribing. If you want to subscribe, that's totally up to you. I'm not fussed whether you subscribe or not. I don't know. A lot of people seem to be worried about that, but who cares? All right, let me go to my vMix screen, and I shall put some color bars up on the screen. So thank you for watching. This is ASV Radio, VK3 EKH, concluding on the visions side of it. Come on, go up there. That's it. Yep. We say morning.